Bitcoin news. Why the data is more bullish than the price. All the Bitcoin news right now. I'll break it down for you based on the data. Bitcoin, I think everyone knows Bitcoin, so I don't really need to introduce it. Still, I did an analysis on Bitcoin. I'll link it up here. It's quite interesting. I think the momentum is at 36, so more in the negative range. We have 27% positive, 37% neutral, and 36% negative. The on-chain trend is falling. That means, in part, less Bitcoin is being used on-chain, right? And the price is ultimately still quite stable, but you still have to be careful, because many Bitcoin miners are now switching over to artificial intelligence and the Clarity Act was postponed. It is a situation that really requires your full attention. So you have to be careful right now. But let's get to the news from the last few weeks. On one hand, miners are significantly reducing computing power. 17% below the record high means less computing power protecting the network. Source: CryptoQuant. Then mining became a bit more difficult, The difficulty plus 0.99% on August 8th, next adjustment estimated minus 3%, meaning mining costs are shifting slightly. Right? Source: hash rate index. Then, what's also quite exciting, a planned rule change that was supposed to happen, but it had no support. Only 3% of the miners actually agreed to the proposal, but a full 55% were needed to move forward. This means that a controversial software change to the Bitcoin network remains blocked for now. According to the Bitcoin Foundation, there is simply no consensus. But before we continue, be sure to join the 10x Insider. It's completely free. I have various tools there that help you become a better investor, and it's entirely free. It's best to check out all the important info here. You just need to enter your email and you can register, but first take a look at everything here at your leisure and then you can see for yourself. As I said, it's completely free. Yes, what else is there? Regarding partnerships and integration. Major banks are increasing their fund holdings. Morgan Stanley shares are up 23%, while JP Morgan has climbed 25%. This clearly indicates that major financial institutions were buying up more stock back in the spring. Source: SEC. At the same time, BlackRock is actively lowering the entry barrier to its new fund. Minimum from $25 million to $1 million filed on August 12th. This means that more companies are now able to trade the fund. Source: BlackRock on August 12th. Then Bitcoin funds with a weekday. $131 million outflows on August 13th, 7-day balance still in the plus though. But it still means money flowed in over the week, though partly now a week that wasn't so good. Source: Farside Investor, August 13th. Then what's the latest on the regulatory front? The Clarity Act, as mentioned, was postponed, to on September 15th, we are looking at the vote on the matter. Then new index rules are threatening Bitcoin firms. MSCI could potentially remove both Strategy and MetaPlanet from their listings. The final decision will be made on October 16th. This means that various funds might be forced to sell off their holdings depending entirely on the outcome. Then US authorities are planning a crypto meeting. The CFTC panel is scheduled to meet on August 20th to discuss the new regulatory rules for digital assets and cryptocurrencies. Exciting, right? In other words, the authorities are still working on regulation. Then let's look at the team and funding, right? Their current strategy is actually reducing its Bitcoin holdings. Yeah, they've sold over 3,328 Bitcoin in the last 30 days, meaning the largest corporate holder has sold some. Well, it's not that much that they sold, but you should still keep it on your radar. Then ecosystem and community news. More funds are disclosing their Bitcoin positions. Edelman Financial and UDA reported in their quarterly filing on August 14th. This means, more traditional money, in plain English, is now holding Bitcoin. Interesting stuff. Source: Bitcoin Magazine. But what's coming up next? What should you keep an eye on? We have the CFTC crypto meeting in 5 days, as mentioned, where authorities will discuss rules for digital assets. Then the mining difficulty adjustment in 8 days, as the effort is recalibrated. Then the Senate vote, as mentioned, which is on September 15th, you should keep all of that on your radar. But now, as always, let's dive into the chart analysis together and look at Bitcoin. Where does Bitcoin stand, right? Maybe an interesting entry point for DCA is coming soon. Let's take a closer look at that. And here we are, back in the chart analysis for Bitcoin. So generally speaking, it currently looks like we're slowly moving into the oversold zone. That means this is a bullish zone and a potential bottom formation, but we're not quite there yet. The 10x indicator formed a small red dot here, which ultimately means there was a potential bearish trend reversal, which then happened, and the 10x indicator is also currently forming a target zone based on historical data. The median has already been reached here, that is this dashed line, but the drawdown could still potentially go down to minus 4.2%. So, from my personal perspective, I want to keep waiting until we hit the oversold zone, a big green dot appears, and then an interesting DCA entry point might emerge. So much for that. I'm linking a video for you here, and if you don't want to miss news videos on Bitcoin, but also altcoins, then subscribe to my channel now, hit the bell so you really don't miss a thing. I've got some exciting news coming up in the next few days too. So I'm linking another video here that I made recently. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.